Hi everyone, today we're going to be talking about unknown angles. Unknown angles are created by intersecting lines, and there are certain relationships between the different angles that are created by the lines. So when you know one angle, you can figure out what all of the other angles are. The three different angle relationships that we'll be talking about today are complementary angles, supplementary angles, and vertical angles. Complementary angles are angles that add up to 180 degrees, supplementary angles add up to 90 degrees, and vertical angles are equal angles on opposite sides of two intersecting lines. We'll go over each of these relationships in more detail. Complementary angles add up to 180 degrees. So when you think about a straight line, the angle that is represented there is 180. And then when you put an intersecting line through that straight line, you create two angles. And when you know the value of one angle, which in this case is 150 degrees, you can figure out the value of the other angle by subtracting the 150 by 180, which gives us 30, so we know that the unknown angle is 30 degrees. Supplementary angles add up to 90. This is a 90-degree angle. You can tell it's 90 degrees by the little box that's in the corner. When you put a line through that 90-degree angle, you get two angles again. And the way that you find the unknown angle this time is by subtracting the known angle from 90. So in this case, we have 90 minus 50 equals 40, so x is equal to 40 degrees. Lastly, we have vertical angles, which are equal angles on opposite sides of two intersecting lines. So in the picture we have here, we have two intersecting lines, and then those lines create four angles. The angles that are on opposite sides, or are opposite to each other, are vertical angles and will be equal. So the angles that have the 30 and the question mark in them are equal. So we know that the unknown angle here is 30 degrees. What are the other two angles? So the other two angles are complementary angles of the 30-degree angles. Since they're complementary, we can find them by subtracting 30 from 180, which gives us 150. And both of those angles are equal, so both of them will be 150 degrees. Let's practice. Let's find all of the unknown angles. So we know that the angle on the very right there is 55 degrees. And there are multiple ways you can approach this because there are two complementary angles and one vertical angle. But I'm going to start with this angle because it's a complementary angle, and once we find this one, then we'll be able to find all of the other angles in the diagram. So since that's complementary, we are going to subtract 55 from 180, which gives us 125. So we know that that angle is 125. Then we know that the angle across from that angle is its vertical angle, so that will also be 125. And the angle that is opposite to the 55 is equal to 55, so that's going to be 55 degrees. So we can fill in those vertical angles. And then you might be thinking, how do we get to the other angles since none of them over there are written in for us? So the two blue lines are parallel. So the intersecting green line will make the same angles with the other blue line. So since the two blue lines are parallel, the angles that the green line makes when it intersects is going to be the same. So we can just fill in the same angles on the other side. You can also see that two of the angles that are created by the other blue line and the green line are bigger than other angles that are smaller. And since 125 is bigger than 55 degrees, the 125 will go on the bigger angles and the 55s will go on the smaller angles. So this is the complete all of the angles in this diagram. In a setup like this, certain angles will always be the same. The angles labeled A are all the same, and the angles labeled B are all the same. This is helpful to remember which angles are the same so that you can just apply this to homework or a test. More practice. These angles are supplementary angles because the total angle is 90 degrees. So we know that when we add these two angles together, we will get 90. So we can put that into an equation. We have 35 plus 2x minus 5 equals 90. And then we just solve for x. So we subtract 35 from both sides and get 2x minus 5 equals 55. And then we add 5 to both sides and get 2x equals 60. And then we divide both sides and get x equals 30 degrees. Okay, for review, complementary angles are angles that add up to 180 degrees, supplementary angles add up to 90 degrees, and vertical angles are equal angles on opposite sides of two intersecting lines. And then I added the diagram here to the review slide because I think it's helpful to remember just which angles are the same. The angles labeled with the same letters are vertical angles and will always be equal, and the angles A and B are complementary angles and add up to 180 degrees. Okay, thanks for watching, everyone.